ലോകജാലകത്തിലൂടെ നമ്മുടെ ജീവിത പങ്കാളിയെ കണ്ടെത്താൻ
വേൾഡ് മാട്രിമോണി.
Managing across borders lines on the map miss the real story. Diversity is deeper than variations between countries. Sometimes those differences appear in different regions of the same country. For example, some parts of Mexico don't use Spanish as the primary language, while Mexico's Yucatan store therefore conducts business in the local Zapotec tongue, encourages female employees to wear traditional Zapotec skirt, and thus the morning company cheer in Zapotec talent abroad. With so much variation across countries, it's no surprise that countries vary in level of talent and the supply of managerial skill and unskilled labor. Companies shouldn't assume that emerging market countries offer inferior labor pools. JM, for instance, found that 50% of its assembly line workers in India have college degrees, a ratio much higher than in other countries. Local solutions by people who understand local needs. Nokia uses local designers to create country-specific handset models. The models designed in India for Indians are dust-resistant and have a built-in flashlight. The model designed in China for Chinese have a touchscreen, stylus, and Chinese character recognition. Local designers are more likely to understand the needs of the local population than headquarters-located designers do. Strategies in Emerging Markets Conference held by MIT Center for Transportation and Logistics (CTL) on March 7, 2007. Cambridge MA Kate takeaway: because the business environment increasingly depends on collaboration across regional and national borders, a successful global managers need to be culturally sensitive and have an understanding for how business is done in different cultures. In some countries, loyalty to the group is key. Other countries celebrate mavericks and rule breakers if they can get things done. Knowing how best communicate with your co-workers and employees, whether to be direct or indirect, whether to follow strict protocol or be more casual, whom to involve in decision, are all important considerations. Exercises. 1. You've just been made a manager in Sweden, known for its institutional collectivism. What incentives or reward structures would you use to motivate your employees? 2. How would you prepare workers for an overseas assignment? 3. Your company has 12 branches in United States and will be opening its first branch in Brazil. Your company prides itself on its self-managed teams. Will you keep this policy in the new country? Why or why not? 4. You're a manager in Japan, and you've just discovered that a team leader under your supervision has made a mistake that will result in quality problem. How will you handle this mistake? 5. You work in Hong Kong for a Swiss-owned firm. The Swiss are known for their high uncertainty avoidance. What differences might you expect to see from your Swiss bosses compared with your Hong Kong employees? 6. What aspect of POLC would you be most likely to change based on what you have learned in this section? 7. 2008 Global Relocation Trend Survey Report retrieved October 13, 2008. 3.5 Developing your values-based leadership skills. Learning objectives. 1. What ethical challenges do managers like face? 2. Why are ethics relevant to principles of management? 3. What decision-making framework can you use to help integrate ethics into your own principles of management? Ethical challenges managers face. It's late at night and the office is quiet. Except that you've got a nudging voice in your head. Your product is already 2 weeks behind schedule. You've got to get it out this week or lost the deal. But you've discovered a problem. To correct the problem would mean another 3-week delay, and you know the client won't go for that. It's a small error. It'll probably never become an issue. What do you do? Managers face this kind of issues all the time. Ethical dilemmas can arise from a variety of areas such as advertising, desire to present your product or service in the best light, sourcing of raw materials. Does the company buy from a supplier who may be underpaying their people or damaging the environment? Privacy. Should the company have access to private emails that employees write on company time or the websites they visit during hours? Safety. Employee and community. Pay skills. Relations of the pay of top executives to the rest of the company. Product pricing policies. Variable pricing. Discount. Communication. With stockholder announcement of plant closing edge, it's easy to think that people who behave unethically are simply but apples or have a character flaw. But in fact, it's often the situation or circumstances that create the ethical pressures. A global study of business ethics published by the American Management Association found that the main reason of a lapse of ethics are 1. Pressure to meet unrealistic business objectives deadlines. 2. A desire to further one's career. 3. A desire to protect one's livelihood. You may have developed your own personal code of ethics, but the social environment of the organization can be a barrier to fulfilling that code if management is behaving unethically. At Enron Vice President Sharon Watkins pointed out the accounting misdeeds, but she didn't take action beyond sending a memo to the company chairman. Although she was hailed as a hero and whistleblower, she in fact did not disclose the issue to the public. Similarly, auditors at Arthur Andersen saw the questionable practices that Enron was pursuing, but when the auditors reported this fact to management, Arthur Andersen managers point to the $100 millions of business they were getting from Enron account. Those managers put profits ahead of ethics. In the end, both companies were ruined, not to mention the countless employees and shareholders left shattered and financially bankrupt. Since 2002, when the Sarbanes-Oxley Act was passed, companies have been required to write a code of ethics. The act sought to reform corporate governance practices in large U.S. public companies. The purpose of the rules is to define a code of ethics as a codification of standards that reasonably necessary to deter wrongdoing, and to promote honest and ethical conduct, including the ethical handling of actual or apparent conflicts of interest, compliance with law, accountability to adhere to the code. 2. The U.S. financial crisis of late 2008 pointed out that the other areas, particularly in the financial services industry, needed stiffer regulations and regulatory scrutiny as well, and those moves will begin to take effect in early 2009. Some companies go a step further and articulate a set of values that drives their code of conduct, as a Procter & Gamble's Values Code of Ethics shows.